Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Destination. This is our 2022 series, looking at the Yerevan entries. So for show one of Destination Yerevan, we'll go around the room quickly. We've got James.
Hi, everyone.
John, who's accompanied by Staggy.
Hi, folks.
Bogdan.
Hi, everyone.
And Sarah.
Hi, everyone.
And of course, I'm Richard. So today we're going to be looking at 4 countries, North Macedonia, Poland, Spain and UK, and see if potentially one of those could be a potential winner in a handful of weeks' time. So, North Macedonia, they debuted in 2003 when the contest first took place in Copenhagen, and the best they've managed to end is 5th place in both 2007 and 2008. But what about this year? James, can you tell us about the North Macedonian entry, please?
So this year, North Macedonia are sending a song, Životot je pred mene, Life is Before Me. And listening to the song, I was sort of struck by a couple of things. First of all, I think the music video is very sweet, sort of shows the singers, going about their daily lives, sort of young people, waking up, checking their phone first things. Sort of a bit of, he said, she said, gossiping on their phones and things, which is, something I think a lot of the younger generation watching will connect to. Musically, I'm a bit torn about this one because part of me is listening to him. It's got a very sweet, inoffensive beat. It sort of, bounces along quite nicely. There's a sort of quite a pop sound in there. But for me, it droned just a little bit. It sort of got to a point where I was thinking, okay, there's no real sort of escalation here. It doesn't sort of key change or anything. That being said, there is a rap verse shoehorned in there, which, I mean, watching it, I have to give the young man, I believe it's Yerevan, credit. He, considering he looks very young, I'd say sort of only 11 at the most, he sort of does the whole gangster thing very convincingly. He sort of, really goes for it. But again, sort of going from like a sort of pop song that's kind of bouncing along to this rap verse and then back to that, and then they've got an English verse in there as well, which I do think is a good idea, the fact they've got English in there, because even though Macedonian is a beautiful language, more people speak English than Macedonian, so from a point of view of getting potential votes, I think that works well. But yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag. There's a lot going on in there and I'm not quite sure it all adds up well. And that's nothing about the performers. I think they all do a good job. They harmonise well. They've got good voices. I just feel like the package is sort of a bit of a mix. It's definitely going to have its fans. If it finished above mid-table, I'd be surprised. That's just my gut feeling at the moment.
Thank you, James. Next, we're going on to Poland, who also debuted in 2003 in Copenhagen. And their best they've done is 1st place back in 2018 and 2019, when the contest took place in Minsk and Gliwice, respectively. So, John, can you tell us a bit about this year's Polish entry? Can it be a record equaling 3rd win?
Well, Poland are the informed country. They know Jesk. In the past 4 contests, they've had 2 firsts and a second. So, they are arguably the Sweden maybe of Jesk. This song, it's called To the Moon, and it's performed by Laura, Bałczkiewicz, and it's written by, I've got to have another go at this, and apologies to any Poles out there, Monika Wodrożynska and Jakub Sebastian Krupski, both performers and songwriters and singers in their own right. I like this. It's a song, it fits in with Jesk, it sort of goes with the current vibe that's around pop music at the moment. So it's nicely current. It could also cut it as a Big Esk song, I think. I listened to it a couple of times, and fabled Eurovision discos that go on out there, a DJ could slip this song into a typical Eurovision mix and people probably wouldn't notice that it comes from a Jesk. It's got bits in English and bits in Polish. Now, that sometimes jars with me because you'll have a song that's been written in one language and then clumsily translated into another to fit a thing. This hasn't happened here. The English bits work, the Polish bits work. So it's got a pretty decent vibe about it. It builds really well. It's very, very catchy. My only criticism, and it's nothing to do with Poland as such, is because it's the current vibe, there could be a few other songs in a very similar sort of style. So there's the risk, even no matter how good it is, there's a risk of the vote being split. That's probably the one little criticism. But it's not a criticism of the song at all. It's just the time we live in. I really like it. I've listened to it a couple of times back to back just to get some thoughts down on for this recording, and it's good. It's got a lot going for it. Can Poland win again? As I said at the top, they're the form country. Can't write them off. But yeah, I like it, and so does the Stag.
Good. If people are watching Junior for the first time this year, we should explain one of the rules is your country has to sing in your national language for at least 60%. That's why you find a lot of the songs split national language and English. But there's some countries that don't touch English and just stick to national language. But there is that rule in place. Anyway, moving on to Spain, who again debuted in Copenhagen 2003. Have won it once back in 2004 when the contest took place in Lillehammer. Bogdan, can Spain get their second win?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. This year, Spain is sending what Spain does best, like a Spanish pop song. The song is called Señorita, and it's sung by Carlos Iglesias. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Maybe like that. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced it. It's a fun song. It's energetic. I couldn't tell from the video how good are his vocals because some parts with auto-tune and some parts didn't. But I can only assume that live will sound good because they knows how to put up a show. And yeah, I like it. It's fun. It has a vibe that we all love. And you know, when you hear a song, you know, okay, this is a sound from Spain. Like, you know, it's a sound from Greece, but it's definitely a sound from Spain. And it's very recognizable, it's fun. I'm sure it's going to be a party starter. And yeah, I can see Spain being in the top half of the scoreboard. However, I'm not sure how high in the scoreboard because it's a bit repetitive and a bit too predictable. However, I do enjoy it.
Brilliantly. And finally, and I think we're all excited about this, the UK are back after a 17-year break. So they debuted, like the other three countries we talked about tonight, in 2003 in Copenhagen, but with only took part in 2004 and 2005, and then took this long 17-year break. Finally, they're back. The best they did in the first three contests was second place in 2004 in Lillehammer. Sarah, let's hear about the UK.
Well, I have to say, I think the BBC must have had some inspiration from our second place at the SC back in May, because I'm pretty impressed with what they're sending to Jesk. I was just totally flabbergasted to see a nice modern dance track. It's something easy on the ear. Now, Freya herself, Freya Sky, who sings it, the song is called Lose My Head. As I say, very modern dance track. And at the moment, the only thing I will say is we haven't actually seen a live performance of it yet. So all I've been able to do is go and have a look at the video of it. The video itself is very, very impressive. It's been choreographed to its life. It's very slick, easy on the eye. Freya herself is 13 years old, but I would say going on 16, looking at the way she's been made up. It's, yeah, very, very, very impressive. The vocals are good, but I do, as I say, we haven't seen a live version of it yet. So whether she can carry those vocals over to an actual live stage, that will be interesting to see. And it will be interesting for me to see if they can replicate what we've seen on the actual promotional video onto the stage on the big night. If they can, I think UK are in with a very good shout. I think we're going to possibly be in amongst the favourites to win.
That's really good to know. So before we go back to the UK briefly, do we think the four we've talked about tonight could potentially win? And just hearing from what Sarah said, I think we know the answer. James?
I think there is definitely a potential winner amongst these four, and yeah, I think Sarah's hit the nail on the head.
John, do you agree?
Yeah, I think two of the four we're reviewing are in with a chance.
Bogdan?
I agree with Sarah and James. I definitely think that UK has a strong chance of winning.
Sarah, I can guess what you're about to say.
Absolutely. As I say, I was just stunned to see that we're sending something just as equally good and up with the times to Jess as we did with the big ESC this year.
And I have to agree with all four of you. I honestly think there is at least one winner, potential winner, sorry, maybe two in that mix. Going back to the UK briefly, what do we all think about their return? Is it a good thing? Do you think we'll get to see more Western European countries return to the contest? James, what do you think?
I think any country coming back to the contest after a break is always a good thing. It sort of injects a bit of life back into a contest, and it also brings potentially a new audience. And let's face it, the children that would have grown up watching Junior Eurovision when the UK first took part, you know, they'll have all grown up by now, so it's a chance for a new generation to become interested in Junior Eurovision. I do wonder if the EBU were sort of holding out to have all of the big five in Junior and then sort of Germany stepping back. You know, we've got the UK, but we've lost Germany. Yeah, I think any country coming to a contest, whether it's junior, adult contest, it's always a nice thing. It sort of injects a bit of life in there. Will it bring more Western European countries into JESC? Possibly. I mean, we've seen, you know, France has done well at junior recently. Spain have been doing consistently well. We've now got the UK potentially to do well. So yeah, I think we could see a bit more interest coming from the western half of Europe. But yeah, I think any country coming back into a contest, I've said, is always a good thing, always positive.
Yeah, and with Germany, I think we would have had the big five, but there's still some sort of pandemic travel restrictions with Germany, so that's the only reason why they're not attending this year. Otherwise, we would have had a big five, which would have been brilliant. John, what do you think?
I think it's a very good thing. I mean, I've often thought that talent contests for children are more of a Central and Eastern European thing anyway. Yeah, they happen sort of on the Mediterranean, on the Atlantic coast, but they're not quite as big. So to get the UK back, as well as most of the big five, is a very good thing. And of course, it's an audience of 65 million people potentially. The BBC are making a really massive thing of it, and it's obviously on the back of Sam Ryder back in May. Eurovision is not a dirty word anymore. Eurovision is not a joke anymore. And this is like a nice little stepping stone between a runner-up spot in Turin and a contest in Liverpool. This is like, yeah, a nice thing just to keep the Eurovision vibe ticking over. And they've picked a corker of a song that could do something Sam Ryder like. Who knows? Definite thumbs up from me.
Bogdan?
I'm extremely happy UK has returned to Eurovision, to the Junior Eurovision, and I agree. I'm not sure if UK wouldn't have hosted the next year the big contest if UK would have returned, but I'm extremely happy that this has happened, and they picked a brilliant song, and it will give the UK audience a chance to fall in love again with Junior Eurovision, and I think they will.
Sarah, what do you think?
Well, I echo the sentiments of what everybody else has said. I do have a niggling sort of feeling as to would the BBC have done this if we weren't hosting, if we hadn't have done so well in Eurovision this year? Would we have been returning to JESC? Who knows? Having said that, I'll put the cynicism aside. And so it is definitely a good thing that we are back in JESC. It shows that we're serious about Eurovision again. We're hosting next year. And I think, as I say, this will encourage people to get the interest back in Eurovision again if it isn't already. And it is, as John said, it is a good stepping stone between the second place back in May and then hopefully on to maybe first place in next month.
I too think it's a good thing. And funnily enough, you say about the cynicism, whether they'd have taken part had not they done so well. According to the Eurotrip podcast, one of the BBC commissioners had decided 2 weeks after the contest in May, they wanted to do junior to carry on the momentum. And I think even though we didn't know it was happening until August, it certainly carried the momentum through. And all these different Eurovision releases in the UK, you're getting it on the one show in the evening, or like the junior announcement, BBC Breakfast in the morning. The BBC are utilising all their different programmes to cover it. And I think the BBC are really serious about junior and Eurovision. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Once again, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the website eurovisionisland.net. But that's all for now. Thank you for everyone. Thank you. It's time to say goodbye, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.